Dear soul, please listen closely. The angels are connecting with you right now. They want to show you two very unique things about you that have completely fascinated someone important. So much that this person just can't hold back anymore. Dear one, the angels are gathered around you today, full of admiration. They see something your heart might still be figuring out. There's something about you that's incredibly rare, so beautifully strong, that even this very calm, guarded, and important person has been completely taken by surprise. This person is used to being admired, often gets compliments that don't mean much, but now they're fascinated in a way that scares them more than they'd admit. And it's not about your looks or your charm, even though those definitely shine. It's something much more unique. What has really shaken this powerful person is the incredible strength you have when protecting your own truth. They've seen how you stand your ground, not by being loud or pushy, but with a quiet certainty. They've watched from afar as you've held on to who you are in a world that often tries to make people smaller. And that, dear one, is the first unusual thing about you that has left them amazed. You don't chase after things. You don't bend who you are. You don't change your core self just to fit what someone else thinks you should be. You walk your own path. And even when it feels lonely, even when people misunderstand you, you stay true to your soul. And that strength, that inner fire, that way you are completely yourself, it has lit something inside them that they can't put out. Type Amen if you trust in God. This important person isn't easily impressed. They've seen ambitious people. They've seen attractive people. They've seen bold people. But they've never seen someone who stays true to their values even when no one is cheering them on. And in you they see something ancient, something special, like an inner warrior whose gentleness was never weakness, and whose silence often says more than 1,000 words. You've shown them that not everything valuable needs to shout to be noticed. That not every soul worth knowing needs approval when they walk into a room. You arrived with quiet dignity. You carried your past hurts without using them to hurt others. You made no effort to impress anyone, and somehow, you've become unforgettable. They're starting to realize that what drew them to you wasn't something they could easily name. It was a feeling, a vibe, an energy that reminded them of who they used to be before the world taught them to hide parts of themselves. And now they're telling others about you. Maybe not saying your name directly, but the things they say give away more than they think. They talk about someone who's unlike anyone they've ever met. Someone who stands tall even when things get tough. Someone who can't be bought, swayed, or controlled. That's how they're describing you. And when they talk about your experiences or your journey, if they mention age, it's not something they try to brush off anymore. They're starting to see it as part of what makes you so strong, almost untouchable. You've lived, you've gotten through things, and you've done it with a grace that seems almost magical. That's the second unusual thing about you, dear one. The way your past has become your strength. Most people hide their pain. You've turned yours into wisdom. And that wisdom now surrounds you like a gentle light that pulls them closer, even when they try to resist. Last night, when they compared you to themselves, maybe it came out sounding like a joke, but it wasn't a joke in their heart. It was like admitting something deep. They were saying, I see myself in them. But they've become everything I wish I could have been. You show them a version of themselves that is real and free. You've chosen to be true to yourself instead of just seeking approval. And that choice is what makes you so incredibly magnetic. They can't look away. They can't ignore the pull. They are fascinated by how you keep rising without asking anyone's permission. How you speak your truth even when you feel nervous. And how you shine without ever trying to make anyone else feel less bright. Dear one, the angels are standing tall around you today. Their presence is firm but also full of deep care because they're watching something amazing happen in the heart of someone who wasn't supposed to be affected like this. Someone powerful, respected, and totally in control of their world. Someone who gets attention wherever they go, who sits confidently in their success and logic, is suddenly shaken by two things about you that go against everything they thought they knew. And what has happened inside them, dear one, isn't just simple attraction. It's something much deeper, something sacred. This important person, this ruler of their own world, isn't standing quite so confidently anymore because the ground under their feet has shifted. Not because of chaos or noise, but because of the quiet power of your presence. You, dear one, carry an energy that is so strong and sure of itself that it matches theirs, and yet it makes them feel humble. They are used to being the one in charge, the one who sets the mood, the one others follow. But when they look at you, they don't see a follower. They see an equal. And realizing that has shaken them to their core. Type 1. Believe. If you believe in God's plan. The first unusual thing that has fascinated this person so deeply is that you radiate an inner authority, a sense of self that can't be learned or copied. It comes from your soul, not your situation. You carry yourself with a kind of calm dignity and emotional strength that makes people stop and listen. Not because you ask for their attention, but because your energy commands it. You don't need to raise your voice, your silence says so much. You don't need to prove your worth. Your presence does that the moment you enter a space. And this person, who is so used to being the strongest one around, felt something totally new when they were near you. They felt matched. They felt seen, not for their status but for their soul. And instead of feeling threatened, that sense of balance stirred something vulnerable and powerful inside them. For the first time in a long time, they met someone who didn't need anything from them, but who chose to exist in their own power, whether anyone noticed or approved. And that, dear one, is not only rare, it's incredibly magnetic. The second unusual thing that has drawn them so strongly to you is the beautiful contradiction you represent. You are strength and softness. You have structure and spontaneity. You have the kind of wisdom that knows when to speak and when to be quiet, when to stand up for something and when to let go, when to stay still and when to walk away. And even more beautiful than your wisdom is the way you hold your boundaries. Not like walls to keep people out, but like sacred lines that protect your inner peace. This important person, who has spent so long building things, managing expectations, being responsible for so much, finds themselves completely captivated by someone who doesn't demand anything from them, yet makes them want to offer everything. You haven't tried to push into their world. You've simply lived so fully in your own that they can't help but want to understand how you do it. They are watching you with wonder, asking questions they've never asked before. How do you stay calm when others panic? How do you speak with such certainty without being harsh? How do you shine so brightly when no spotlight is even on you? Last night, when they spoke of you, maybe to someone close or maybe just in the privacy of their own thoughts, they didn't talk about your looks first or what you've achieved. They spoke of your steadiness, your ability to carry the weight of your life experiences without becoming bitter, your grace when faced with difficulty. And in a moment of surprising honesty, they said something that showed how deeply connected they feel to you. They said you look just like them, but not in a surface way. What they meant was that you remind them of the self they had to bury long ago. Their younger self, their truest self, the one who dreamed before responsibilities took over. When they see you, they see not just an equal, but a reflection of who they wish they could become again. They're starting to understand that you don't mirror their accomplishments, you mirror their soul. And that realization, dear one, is both terrifying and freeing for someone who has never let themselves be vulnerable. Now they are speaking of you not with the certainty of someone in charge, but with the awe of someone who has been changed. They're beginning to open up, to admit things they've never said out loud. That your strength doesn't challenge them, it inspires them. That your life journey doesn't create distance, it adds depth to who you are. That your quiet command has become like a song playing over and over in their heart, one they can't stop hearing. No matter how far they run or how high they climb, they've become mesmerized. Not just by how you carry yourself, but by the fact that you now carry them inside you energetically without even knowing it. They feel your influence when they make decisions. They hear your voice in their quiet moments. And they're starting to ask themselves if all their power is worth anything if they can't share it with someone who understands the weight of it the way you seem to. The angels want you to know that your influence isn't just a passing thing. You are not just a brief fascination in the life of someone important. You are a reminder that strength can be graceful, that power can be quiet, that leadership isn't about control, it's about presence. And yours is unmatched. This person may not be ready to say all of this out loud yet, but their soul is already choosing you in 1,000 silent ways. In the way they pause when your name comes up. In the way they compare everyone else to the standard you set without even trying. In the way they begin to question everything they thought they wanted because your energy makes them want something more, something real, something sacred, something lasting. Dear one, the angels speak today with a soft respect because they know your soul has quietly carried the weight of many struggles. And now, the energy you've built through those quiet battles has created a ripple so powerful that even someone who stands high above the world, a person protected by power, admired by crowds, distant from deep feelings, has found themselves shaking with awe because of you. This person who isn't easily moved, who walks around with a polished image and rarely lets anyone get too close, has been caught completely by surprise by two deeply unusual qualities in you. These aren't things they expected to be fascinated by. These aren't the qualities the world shouts about. These are the sacred hidden parts of you that only someone looking with their soul could truly see. And it's exactly because this person isn't used to being shaken that they now find themselves unable to look away, unable to let go, unable to hold themselves back. Type strong if you believe in God's presence. The first thing that has completely captured them is your silent strength. The way you handle intensity with gentleness. The way your inner fire never burns wildly but instead warms everyone around you. You have endured so much, dear one. You have walked through heartbreaks, betrayals, disappointments that could have made your heart hard. But instead you have come out more graceful, more patient, more calm. You have learned the art of responding thoughtfully instead of just reacting, of softening instead of breaking. And this person who might have once believed that power means control, that strength has to be loud, is now deeply, almost painfully, drawn to the quiet power you carry in your soul. They've seen people fight for attention, beg for affection, show off how dominant they are, but you did none of that. You didn't try to prove you were strong, you just were. And this, more than anything, left them captivated. You didn't chase them, but you stayed in their mind. You didn't demand their energy, but you lingered in their thoughts. And now they are beginning to understand, your strength isn't in how loud you are, it's in how deeply you make others feel without saying a word. The second unusual thing about you, dear one, is your ability to calm the wildness in others without even trying to control them. This person, who might be successful, maybe even feared or emotionally distant to most people, has felt something incredibly rare around you. Peace. Not the peace that comes from avoiding things or being silent, but the peace of being accepted exactly as they are, without feeling like they need to be fixed. You never tried to change them. You never pressured them. And yet, in your presence, they felt themselves becoming more gentle, more open, more whole. That kind of energy, dear one, is divine. It can't be faked. It comes only from someone who has faced their own inner battles and now walks the world with the heart of a lion and the hands of a healer. And now, this important person who once believed they had to keep people at a distance to protect their image, finds themselves aching for the softness you offer so naturally. They miss you in rooms full of noise. They long for your presence when everything else feels loud and empty. Because you, and only you, bring them back to the version of themselves they've never shown the world but always hoped someone would see. Last night, when they spoke about you, maybe in a vulnerable moment with someone they trust or even just silently to themselves, they made a comparison they didn't fully grasp at the time. They said you looked just like them. But it wasn't about physical looks. It was soul recognition. They saw in you the version of themselves they left behind when they chose ambition over being true to themselves, when they chose power over presence. They saw their own courage reflected in your calm. They saw their buried dreams in your eyes. And they realized something that hit them harder than they expected. You did what they couldn't. You stayed soft in a world that tried to make you hard. You loved deeply when connections often stay shallow. You chose to understand rather than to control. And in doing that, you became unforgettable. They're now telling others that there's something about you they can't explain, that you don't fit into any neat box, that you carry a kind of energy they didn't even know they needed. They might not be calling it love yet. They might not be ready to face how much you've affected them. But the angels see it. In every thought they send your way. In every time they replay your words. In every moment they feel your absence like a silence that's louder than any noise. And slowly their walls are beginning to crumble. Not because you pushed, but because your presence is what their soul has been longing for. Dear one, today the angels whisper with proud and glowing respect as they show you the heart of someone powerful. Someone used to standing on platforms built by the world. Someone admired, followed, and cheered for because of their charm, their achievements, their presence. This person is no stranger to attention, no stranger to admiration. But what has happened in their heart since they crossed paths with your energy, dear one, is something they never saw coming. Because while many people cheer for their successes, while many crave their approval, it is you who has quietly captivated them without ever trying to. And the angels want you to understand now with complete certainty and no doubt, that two deeply unusual things about you have shaken this important person right to their core, leaving them fascinated, unable to hold back, and questioning everything they once believed about power, presence, and the true meaning of success. Type 111 if you trust in your guardian angels. The first thing that has left them breathless, dear one, is the way you walk through life as if you have nothing to prove. And yet, everywhere you go, you change the feeling in the room. You don't demand attention, it just follows you. You don't look for applause, it just happens around you because your realness stirs something genuine in people. You have this quiet, magnetic confidence that comes not from being told you're worthy, but from knowing it deep in your bones. And this important soul who has spent years earning their status, collecting titles, and being put on display, now finds themselves looking at you with wonder. Because while the world claps for their outer success, your soul shines with something no spotlight can create: genuine presence. You don't put on a show, dear one. You simply are. And in a world addicted to masks and performances, your presence is groundbreaking. This person didn't expect to feel overshadowed by someone who wasn't even trying to stand out. But you've become unforgettable. Not because you tried to rise above others, but because you walked beside them with a grace that made them want to rise too. The second unusual thing about you, and perhaps even more fascinating to this person, is the way you celebrate others without dimming your own light. You are not threatened by the successes of those around you. You don't need to outshine anyone to feel seen. You lift others up while standing tall yourself. And that combination of humility and power is so rare, so calming, that it has left this person completely without their usual defenses around you. They've been surrounded by admirers, but they've never been surrounded by someone like you. Someone who notices their soul, not just their image. Someone who sees their struggles beneath the surface of their wins. Someone who isn't blinded by their spotlight but who meets their gaze with real understanding and a grounded feeling. And this has sent them spinning in the most beautiful way. Because you've done what no one else could. You've reminded them that being celebrated doesn't always mean being truly seen. But with you they finally feel both. Last night when they thought about you, perhaps speaking quietly to someone close or lost in their own heart, they said something that even they didn't expect to admit. They said you look just like them. But it wasn't about appearance. It was a soul comparison. It was admitting that you carry something inside you that mirrors the version of themselves they once believed in before the world put them on a pedestal. You remind them of the courage they had when they first started dreaming, the hunger to be something great without selling their soul. And now, watching you live with your own radiant, unapologetic energy, they are seeing their reflection in someone who never had to sacrifice their heart for success. That comparison wasn't shallow, it was sacred. It was their heart saying, "This is who I was meant to be, and this is who they already are." They're speaking of you now in ways that are careful but full of awe. They say your name differently. They pause when talking about your presence. And when people ask why you've affected them this deeply, they don't have the words to explain. Because this isn't about logic, it's about energy. It's about feeling seen without being put on a pedestal. It's about being appreciated without being controlled. And that's what you gave them, dear one. A connection that didn't care about their status but looked deeper and saw their scars. A bond that didn't need their position but spoke directly to their soul. The angels want you to understand that your ability to stand in your power while honoring the light in others has created a ripple effect that is changing this person in ways you might not see yet. They are questioning what they've built, not because it isn't impressive, but because they're realizing that true success isn't about who praises you, it's about who sees you. And you see them in the quietest, realest way. And now they're finding themselves craving your energy more than the applause, your presence more than the platform, your truth more than perfection. So hold your head high, dear one. You are not just admired, you are felt deeply. You are not just someone in their memory, you are someone helping them evolve. You've entered their life not as a fan or a follower, but as a mirror, a gentle challenge to their carefully built world. And now, because of your unique light, they are no longer content with just being seen by the world. They want to be known by you. You've reminded them of who they were before the world taught them to perform. Dear one, the angels lean close to you today, their eyes sparkling. for they have seen how your spirit has lit a flame in the heart of someone who was never supposed to feel things so deeply. Someone who stands high in the world, yet now finds themselves completely disarmed by the two unusual things about you that they never saw coming. This person, so used to structure, control, and carefully managed emotions, is now overwhelmed by the spontaneous, untamed light that you carry inside. You, dear one, with all your passion, curiosity, and spirit that can't be contained, have awakened something inside them that they thought they had buried long ago. You didn't enter their life with a plan to impress. You simply showed up, unapologetically alive, moving to your own rhythm, carrying a fire that dances in your eyes, your words, your presence. And now, even as they try to return to their world of logic and responsibility, they find themselves fascinated, because no one has ever made them feel the way you do. Type guided if you believe in God's guidance. The first unusual thing that has them captivated beyond words is the way you carry a youthful spirit that isn't clueless, but divinely inspired. You don't just talk about dreams, you live them. You don't ask for permission to be passionate. You give yourself permission to explore life with unfiltered joy. You embody this rare kind of fire that doesn't burn others. It lights them up. And this person, this important soul who has seen so much, done so much, and yet forgotten how to feel, now finds themselves haunted, in the most beautiful way, by your energy. They think of the way you look at the world as if it's still full of magic, and they wonder when they stopped believing in such things. They remember your spontaneous laughter, the way you turn even ordinary moments into something special. You make them feel like everything is still possible. Like love can feel new again. Like life isn't meant to be predictable. It's meant to be lived with open hands and a racing heart. They are fascinated not just by your excitement but by your bravery. You are not afraid to be fully alive. And in a world full of people who fake strength but hide their true desires, you are a revolution they can't turn away from. The second thing that has shaken this person to their core is your unapologetic authenticity. You don't wear masks. You don't dim your light to make others comfortable. You say what you feel, not to cause trouble but simply to live in your truth. You walk into places and don't try to fit in. You inspire others. They've watched you from afar, maybe pretending not to notice, but everything about you has challenged their carefully built world. You've made them question what it really means to be successful. You've made them ask themselves if they've just been existing or truly living. Because you, dear one, don't just exist. You burn. You breathe life into silence. You bring warmth into rooms that felt cold long before you arrived. And that energy, that fire, that refusal to be anything less than everything you are, that has captivated them beyond logic. They don't even fully understand why they're drawn to you so deeply. All they know is that nothing else feels quite as alive as being near you. Last night, in a moment they didn't expect to mean so much, they compared you to themselves. They might have laughed when they said it, maybe tried to brush it off, but the truth was deeper than the words they used. They saw in you the part of themselves they lost along the way. They saw the version of them that once dared to dream, that once believed love could be real, that once followed excitement instead of sticking to plans. When they said you looked like them, they weren't talking about the outside, they were talking about the soul. And in that moment something shifted. Because they realize they don't just admire you. They miss you when you're not there. They crave your energy when everything else feels dull. They ache to get back to the part of themselves that only wakes up when you're near. And now they're telling others about you. Maybe not directly, maybe they're still choosing their words carefully. But their tone has changed. They speak of you like someone who changed everything. Like someone who walked into their life without knocking and rearranged the furniture of their heart. They say things like, they're different, or, there's just something about them. And when they speak those words, their eyes soften. Because this isn't just fascination, it's longing. Longing for more of the freedom you represent. Longing for more of the realness you offer. Longing for you, your laughter, your spirit, your presence. You've become the spark that refuses to go out in them. And now, no matter how they try to go back to the world they built before you, nothing feels the same. Nothing feels like enough. The angels want you to understand that this isn't fleeting. This isn't about surface attraction or temporary excitement. You have reached into the very core of someone who doesn't let many people get close. You've touched the child within them, the dreamer they buried, the fire they tried to put out in exchange for control. And now, because of you, that fire is burning again. That heart is waking up. That soul is starting to remember what it means to feel free. You've become the message they didn't know they needed. The invitation to return to truth. And even if they can't speak it yet, they are already following you, in thoughts, in feelings, in energy. So please do not hold back your light, dear one. Do not second-guess your boldness, your joy, your passion. Those are the very things that have cracked open a soul who thought they had everything figured out. Your fire is not too much. It is exactly what this world and this person needed to feel again. You were not sent here to fit in. You were sent here to ignite. Dear one, today the angels step forward gently, their voices quiet yet full of awe, because they have seen something miraculous taking shape. A sacred unfolding happening quietly in the heart of someone powerful, someone important in the world's eyes, but now deeply stirred by something they never expected. This person, surrounded by fancy things, intellect, admiration, and careful plans, is finding themselves disarmed by two deeply unusual qualities in you. Qualities they never expected to long for but now feel they cannot live without. And the angels want you to understand truly and fully that the reason this person can no longer hold themselves back is not because you impressed them, but because you touched something inside them that hasn't been touched in a very long time. You reached the part of them that no praise, no spotlight, no achievement ever managed to awaken. The part that still believes in love, still hopes for magic, still aches to be seen without judgment and loved just as they are. And you, dear one, in your soft, unguarded, emotionally pure way, became the answer to a prayer they never had the courage to speak out loud. The first unusual thing that has completely mesmerized them is your emotional sincerity. The way your heart seems to live right at the surface, not out of weakness but out of courage. In a world where everyone hides behind filters, masks, and rehearsed words, you feel like fresh rain after a long dry spell. You say what you feel without worrying about the consequences. You show vulnerability not as a trick but simply as your truth. And this person, so used to people pretending, performing, holding back, found themselves completely undone when they looked into your eyes and realized you were real. That you weren't trying to win them over. That you weren't trying to gain favors or access or status. You simply showed up as yourself. Open, emotionally available, and wonderfully unguarded. And it cracked open something in them that had been locked away for years. They saw in you what they didn't know they needed. Someone who doesn't lead with pride but with presence. Someone who doesn't cover themselves in perfection, but shows their softness as a kind of sacred power. And in that moment, when your heart reached out to theirs with nothing but honesty, they realized they could never go back to a world where people only pretend to care. Because you do care, and that is your power. The second unusual thing about you, dear child, is the way you still believe. You believe in love that heals, in conversations that change lives, in connections that feel meant to be, written in the stars. You hold on to this gentle, dreamlike wonder that most people lost long ago. But you didn't lose it, you protected it. And this person, this important soul who's seen the harsh side of life, who's been hardened by betrayal, disappointment, and responsibility, now finds themselves mesmerized by your innocence. Not because it's naive, but because it's courageous. You believe not because you haven't been hurt, but because you've chosen not to let those wounds make you cold. You've loved after loss. You've dreamed after disappointment. You've stayed soft in a world that tried to harden you. And that is what's making them fall apart inside. They didn't expect to be moved by someone who leads with their heart instead of a plan. They didn't expect to feel safe in the presence of someone who doesn't try to fix them but simply listens. They didn't expect that you, in all your gentle honesty, would become the one thing they now crave more than control, more than logic, more than any success they've ever known. Last night, when they said you looked just like them, it might have sounded lighthearted, maybe even casual. But the angels saw the truth underneath. That wasn't about physical looks. That was their soul speaking a truth their mind hasn't caught up to yet. They were saying, "This person is the me I used to be, or the me I wish I had the courage to become again." When they look at you, they see the version of themselves that still dared to dream, the version that hadn't yet learned to guard every word, calculate every move, suppress every feeling. And now, in the stillness of night when no one's watching, they replay your words, your laughter, your gaze, and they ache, not out of sadness but out of longing. Because you remind them of everything they lost when they traded emotional freedom for emotional safety. And now they want that freedom again. But they don't want it alone. They want it with you. They are speaking of you now, even if you don't hear it. In small ways, in vulnerable moments, in places where their image doesn't matter, they are saying things like, "I've never met anyone like them." Or, "They feel different." Or even, "They see right through me, and it doesn't scare me. It comforts me." They are not used to feeling exposed without feeling threatened. But you have made that possible. You have made them feel like they can be human again. Like they can admit their confusion, their emotions, their buried hopes, and not be judged. You've made space for their heart to speak without being silenced by their mind. And now they find themselves thinking about you more than they expected, caring more than they meant to, needing you more than they're ready to admit. Because you, in all your emotional truth, have become their quiet obsession. The angels want you to know that your softness is not a flaw. It is your superpower. Your honesty is not too much. It is the very medicine this world and this person needs. You were never meant to be hardened, you were meant to heal. And this person, no matter how high above the world they may seem, has felt that healing begin inside them because of you. They are no longer looking at power the same way. They are no longer satisfied with conversations that lack depth, with connections that lack heart. You've changed what they crave. And even if they are still figuring out what to do with these feelings, the shift has already happened. You've touched a place in them that no one else has ever reached. So walk forward, dear one, fully knowing that you did not just catch their attention. You touched their truth. And no matter how long it takes them to act on it, they will never be the same. You have reminded them of who they were before they forgot. And now, because of your presence, they are remembering. They are beginning to feel. They are longing for a kind of connection that only you could awaken. And the angels are smiling because what you offered with your open heart has become the most priceless thing in their world. The freedom to be loved without needing to pretend. And that is why, no matter how high they stand in the world, they can't hold themselves back from the soul who made them feel real. Type Amen if you trust in God. Thank you for being here, for trusting these angelic whispers, and for walking this path with such grace. May the angels stay close to you always, surrounding you with their infinite love, divine protection, and quiet guidance as you move toward your highest purpose.